Good morning. Hey, Milton. It's Greg McIntyre, the Elder Law Guy with the Elder Law Report. We come to you weekly, live from the studio, to bring you relevant healthcare information, relevant legal information, relevant community information, to keep you plugged in with what's going on in the community and give you ideas to ponder to better your life. That's what we're going to do this morning.
Good.
This morning we have a special guest with us, Mr. Dick Baker with the Healthcare Foundation of Cleveland County. And we're going to talk about the current state of healthcare affairs in Cleveland County, the affairs of building facilities and, the general state of affairs of the health of the populace and how we improve that. And that takes money and decision making, and we're going to get into that. It's a deep subject. We've been having a really good talk pregame here, just kind of preparing for the show and getting warmed up. So stay tuned, and thank you for being here, Hayden. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well.
I'm excited about today's show.
All right.
It's a good subject. Yes,
I think so.
Things I've talked about and thought about for a long time. About health, welfare, longevity. How that equates to spending money, how we spend money, and what we spend money on.
Well, that's
Not
part
only
of your
individually,
life.
but as a populace.
That's something that's part of your life and your family's life. So you have actually
It's part of all of our lives.
Yes, but I mean you've
Whether
actually.
we want it to be or not.
Well, but I'm talking about the health aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
You make sure that your family eats well and you eat well and that you all get exercise and everybody's involved in something physical.
I'm chewing a seed right now from a blackberry where I blended a shake this morning from a bag of fruit that I froze last night. And I put 3 eggs in it too. I don't know if raw eggs are, that's more rocky. I don't know if that's healthy or not. I think that could be, they can tell you that, that there could be, if it has salmonella, but it's on the refrigerator, I think they're good. Anyway, I got my protein and my fruit and everything. I don't drink, that's not part of the show, by the way. Don't make that shake, okay? But it's good for me. I do think about what my family ingests, what they eat, the health care they have. My wife was working on an application for health insurance yesterday and calling me frustrated, okay? There's some frustrations there sometimes. And, but our health, our happiness and education, all those things are related to health too. Even as a child, how can you learn if you're not healthy and you don't feel good? Or you're hungry or, there's all those things factor in. And Mr. Baker was telling us this morning that, really all the decisions we make as a society and an individual in some way affects our health, either in a positive or negative way. So just to be conscious of that. And we're going to talk about that. That's going to be a heavy, deep subject. We'll try to keep it light as possible, all right, and have some fun with it while also asking some good questions that'll make you say, right? Make you say,
Right.
So how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well.
Doing well?
Yes.
You have your green microphone today?
I have my green microphone.
Your green microphone. And do you have a happy place for us today?
I do. It's a little different. Years ago, I'll start a quick story. I was very, very shy, and I went to a Young Life camp, and we had a mixer where, they would play music, they would stop the music, and the guy would say,
Like a
"Bye."
blender? Like a blender?
Let me tell the story.
What's a mixer?
It's to get you
We're
to
in a
meet other
sorority.
people. No, to
Like a party.
Would you like to tell a story?
No, you tell us one.
Okay. Anyway, it's to get the kids to feel comfortable meeting each other.
Okay.
So they would play music, and the guy would yell, "Stop the music!" Yell 5. So you had to get with 4 other people, sit down in a group of 5.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as soon as the music stopped playing, I went to the side, and before I could get there was this young man, and he obviously had some physical disability, and he stopped me to try to get me to, join a group with him. And I was so shy, I couldn't even do that and didn't even think about the consequences and that he might take it personally. I went to the side, and ever since then, that has helped me become a more outgoing person, and certainly to reach out to people who are like me as well as not like me. So this carries over now. I'm becoming even more outgoing. Last night, we went, I represented you at an event last night in Lincoln at the Alive After 5. And they started playing music, and I saw some older people sitting in chairs, and they were kind of like me, dancing in a chair. So I left my co-worker there and went over and just grabbed their hands and let them dance in the chair. So not just from one person after another. And that made me feel so good because they loved it. You know, they couldn't get up and dance. You know,
So just being positive,
and just
reaching out, getting outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah, well, it's my comfort zone now, but it took a long time to get this
You
far.
expanded your comfort zone to meeting new people,
and
to
it just
doing
made
new
me
things.
think how nice it is. If
You're so outgoing. It's hard to believe to me that you were ever
Oh,
shy.
I was as shy as you could possibly get, and I wish I could go back and tell that young man how much he changed my
You know,
life.
there's like Western North Carolina's listening to you right now, right?
Yes. Did I say something specific?
No, does that not make you shy? You're very outgoing.
No, not anymore.
You're not bashful anymore.
I think age 50 helped too. 60 helped a little more. 70's coming up. I may be the most outgoing person ever.
Outgoing 70-year-old on planet Earth.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the consequences. Everyone's my friend.
Well, good. I mean,
I haven't met them all yet.
that's awesome. Give me a high five. That's awesome. Well, that's a good happy place. So going to this mixer made you more outgoing and made you think that, you know what, I'm not going to be shy away from opportunities or situations. I'm going to dance.
And that's still one of my regrets that I didn't go with that young man.
Well,
Be part of the fight.
well,
Anyway,
everything happens
think
for a
about that,
reason.
guys. Everybody liked it. Everybody likes people who are friendly and most times.
To be more friendly.
Yeah,
Feel more, and you'll feel better. You know, that actually affects your health as well.
and it
You know
does.
that? So okay. Do we have mixers anymore with kids? Do kids have mixers?
I think they do. My granddaughter has been to Young Life camps, and she's been to TWB, which is a bus trip around the country, 23 states in 26 days, or vice versa. And they have things that they do that they mix the kids into different groups.
Mhm.
You're not with the same group every
Do
day.
they have them like mixers, like the guys and the gals dance? And
If they don't, that is a real shame. Young Life has always been a group that did that, and I would be willing to bet that they do.
mixers. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And there are lots of
Sounds-
different
sounds
things.
fun.
When I was at Young Life Kit, we had them, but I was able to stay with people I knew after that one thing. But I thought about it. It changed me, and much
Okay.
for that.
Good. And I hope you had fun last night. It looked like
It was.
you and Taylor.
We had a ball.
Yeah, got to meet people in Lincoln
Yes,
last night
sure did.
and do some shagging.
Looking forward to get about shagging with the people in their chairs.
Right at the Live After 5 event. Yeah, good.
We'll be back.
Yeah, they play beach music and have a good time, don't they? Well, good. Well, Dick, thank you for being with us today, Mr. Baker. So, Healthcare Foundation of Cleveland County, what is it?
That's a great question. Good morning. Thank you for having me today,
Absolutely.
Hayden. Thank you too. Appreciate you letting me be here and talk about some of the things that we do. The Healthcare Foundation of Cleveland County is actually what's referred to as a health legacy or a health conversion foundation. And these typically come about when a local rural hospital has been sold or becomes part of a larger healthcare system. In our case here, Carolina's healthcare system, of course,
Sure.
purchased the hospitals in Shelby and Kings Mountain back in 2013. But prior to that, there was a traditional hospital foundation. It's the old Cleveland Memorial Hospital Foundation. That started in 1990 and raised money to provide for the needs of the local hospitals, be it a piece of equipment, be it raising money to add a new wing, which they did with the 5-story patient tower, with whatever the hospital's needs were. But then when the hospital was sold, the foundation changed in a sense in that we redefined our mission. We decided that our focus should be totally throughout the county, not just specifically for the hospitals, but to address healthcare issues that affect the population. And so collectively we're kind of known across the country as health legacy or health conversion foundations.
That sounds like a conflict of interest. You're trying to make people healthy so they don't come to a hospital, which is where the money is made.
Well, exactly, and it is kind of counterintuitive, but you're exactly right. I mean, the whole future of healthcare, the whole healthcare industry has shifted from being, from treatment to more prevention oriented. So we want to make communities healthier. We want to keep people out of hospitals. Because what does that do? That affects the quality of your life, it affects your longevity, it lowers insurance rates. It just makes for a healthier, more vibrant community. So the more we can do to address those things, the better off the community is. So anyway, since about 2010, there have been over 300 plus of these health legacy, health conversion foundations that have come into being in about 43 different states around the country. A lot of them in the Southeast, because that's where a lot of the rural communities are located in the Southeast. And typically what's happened is when these sales or these conversions take place, some of the proceeds from the sale of the hospitals goes to these foundations to create an endowment so that there are funds available to, to go forward and do good works in the community to improve health for the citizens. Fortunately, in a lot of communities, this has had a huge, huge impact. Collectively, those 300 plus foundations have about $26.2 billion in assets, that can be utilized in their respective communities to improve health care and health outcomes. Now, I was not here in 2013, when the hospitals were sold or the county sold the hospitals to Carolina's healthcare system, so don't know all the parameters of the decisions that went into that sale. However, I'm sad to say that none of the proceeds from the hospital came to the foundation to create an endowment. So we only have the funds that were left over, so to speak, from the old hospital foundation to what is now the Healthcare Foundation of Cleveland County. So our total assets are really less than $1 million, which is not a lot of money when you're talking about having a collective impact. And we're, Cleveland County is 82nd out of 100 counties in North Carolina in terms of healthy outcomes, longevity, that sort of thing. So we've got a lot of work to do, but not a lot of financial resources at the county level, addressed to be able to do that kind of effort.
Well, is this like an hourglass? When the money's gone, or do you have renewal of resources or investments?
Well, that's a great question. Yes and no. Right now, we have the money that we do have, which I says around a little bit under $1 million, but about half of that is set aside in restricted funds that are still reserved for specific needs of the two hospitals that we can't touch because it's in like a restricted fund. So our unrestricted dollars, which is the money that we can go out and do things in the community, is only less than $500,000. But so the only way we can improve that is by individual fundraising, people donating to the foundation to help us, and we do invest the dollars that we do have. But we're hopeful at some point in time we can go back and approach the county about taking some of those dollars that they received from the sale of the hospital and entrusting them to us in endowment form to build and be able to do more things to address what we call these social determinants of good health that are so important to improving the health and welfare for all of our citizens.
So you don't have golf tournaments or 5K races?
We'll have some of that. We'll be doing some of that because we have to raise money, unfortunately. So, we do have some things. Our board is looking at some opportunities to raise money. We have our annual gala every year in February, which is kind of our signature event. That, of course, is a fundraising event, but that only raises a small amount of money. But I think it's our job right now is, because we are relatively new in the sense of being a community healthcare foundation, our job right now is to educate the community on the importance of healthcare and addressing some of those needs. So we're trying to be very strategic in using the money that we do have to partner with and make some very strategic healthcare or health-related grants in our community to begin having an impact. We know this is not a problem that's going to be solved overnight. It's a multi-generational, multi-year, long-term, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And so it's going to take a lot of time to do it. But if we can make, small victories along the way, or begin to change the way people think about healthcare, and do things like provide better access to healthcare, and increase awareness of young people and in our schools, and educating the community about healthy choices, making healthy decisions, lowering risk factors, then things will change. But again, it's going to be a long-term process.
Well, you had mentioned, you said a term, social determinants of good health.
Mm-hmm.
That really interests me. Social determinants of good health. And then healthy choices.
Right. When we talk about so what are social determinants? That's kind of a catch-all phrase. It's
sure.
in the healthcare arena right now. But the things that directly affect your health, where you may not realize it or not. For example, the quality of housing. Where you live. Do you live in a nice home that has proper insulation and a roof that doesn't leak and proper ventilation, or are you sharing public housing with 3 or 4 families living in one dwelling? That has an effect on your health. One person gets sick, then everybody gets sick. So that's a factor. We have a lack of quality housing, in Cleveland County. Transportation, access to health care. How do you get to the doctor? Who's your primary care physician? A lot of people, do not have a regular, primary physician. To give you an example, the ED department at Carolinas Healthcare in Cleveland, the Shelby Hospital, last year had 165,000 visits. 165,000 visits to the emergency room. And that's for everything from a scraped knee to a cold to I just don't feel good, or I think I'm having some mental problems. So, people go to the ED for anything. And out of the entire Carolinas healthcare system network, which includes Charlotte, we have the highest number of ED visits of any one hospital. So when you think about that, that's huge. So why is that? Because it's convenient, it's easy to get to, we don't turn anyone away, but it's a symptom of a larger problem in the community.
Is it financial that
It's,
people do this?
it's primarily financial or lack of education. Where else do I go? Going to urgent care costs a lot less than the emergency room, but the emergency room may be a more convenient solution, or
And
just
urgent care costs money up front.
right. But it's
Whereas the emergency room
it's not correct, but it's also a lot less in the long term.
In the long run,
right,
yes.
than an ED. But
But if you don't care about the bill you're going to run up with the tab, which is
right.
sometimes the
And of
case,
course,
you're gonna-
indigent health care is a huge financial burden that we take
so
on.
that's part of it too.
Part of it too. So getting back to food selection, food decisions. Where do you purchase your food? There are not many grocery stores in Cleveland County, and for a lot of folks, the corner convenience store is their grocery store, and there are a lack of good nutritional food choices in the corner convenience store.
And they're expensive.
And they're expensive.
So we call them food deserts.
Food deserts is what we call them, where people have to travel a fair distance to get to a grocery store. But again, if you don't have
And that
a
doesn't
car,
mean just to get some form of sustenance to put in your body. That means to get good quality food that will make you healthy.
correct,
And maintain a healthy lifestyle.
correct. And then so we're trying to partner with, for example, the farmers market. To
Sure.
help with creating ways to get, folks can't get to the farmers market, how do we get the farmers market to them? One of the first grants we did was with the farmers market to bring an innovative childhood nutrition program called the POP Club, POP standing for Power of Produce. So the idea behind that, we got out in the school system, went to kids in elementary school, encouraged them to come to the farmers market on Saturday. So when they come to the market on Saturday, they're given a wooden token that's valued, it has a $2 value, that they can go spend on fresh fruit or vegetables or produce in the farmer's market.
My kids love that.
Isn't it so cool? They love it.
They love it.
And what we've learned is when the child takes ownership of that food
They love it.
choice,
They want to go to the
They wanna
farmer's
go.
market on Saturday
Right,
morning,
right.
so they can get their $2 token
Exactly.
and go buy whatever they want to.
and take it home that night and have it for dinner. And of course, there's a ripple
Or
effect.
grow a plant.
Or grow a plant.
They bought
Yeah.
plants there
Exactly.
with them that we'll put in a garden area.
Right. Well, that whole program was funded by us,
That's awesome.
That's
through a
great.
grant. So, but again, it's a start, and again, I think we have to start with this next generation on creating these kinds of opportunities, one, to make them aware of choices and educate them about healthy choices when it comes to food, when it comes
Sure.
to exercise, diet, so forth and so on. The other big thing that we've looked at these social determinants, particularly in Cleveland County, but in a lot of rural counties, is transportation. Is just, how do I get to the doctor? How do I get to the hospital? How do I get to my appointment? Or my child has an appointment with a pediatrician, but we don't have a car.
Sure.
I'm going to kind of give you a sneak preview here. We're going to be making an announcement in the next couple of weeks of a unique partnership where we're going to provide some free transportation specifically to one of the very underserved areas of Cleveland County to provide free transportation exclusively for healthcare and nutrition. So these folks and their families can get to the doctor appointment, they can get to CLECO, they can get to the grocery store, they can get to the health department, and it won't cost them anything. And so we're very excited about this, and we think this is another potential small victory that can begin to very slowly, move that needle in the right direction. But again, that's our
I'd love
job.
to see the needle moved just as a populace, as Americans. This is an American problem.
It is.
This is a worldwide problem, nutrition and health is. But it's also uniquely an American problem. I have friends that live overseas that come visit, and they make observations about the way we eat,
Right.
the availability of good produce in markets, or lack thereof.
Lack thereof.
And the design of our cities. You mentioned before we started, every decision factors into health. The design of our cities to be all built, European cities were built before the invention of the automobile. So they're walking cities.
Exactly.
Our cities are not. Our cities are driving cities. And so, how can we get people to get out on a bike and go from point A to point B?
Exactly.
To walk.
And
so we
we're
put down
working,
more sidewalks and more access.
and we're making some headway in that area with a lot of fitness trails or walking trails or greenways. I think you'll see more of that coming ahead. The city of Shelby is doing a lot with encouraging people to walk and laying out walking courses, if you will, and the convenience of walking from one place to the other.
Right.
So I think we're becoming as a society a little more conscious of this,
Right.
but it needs to be much more
I think
top of mind
integrating it
consciousness.
into design of communities
Mhm.
so that people, I can choose to go off on a nature trail, but if the way I get to work is I just pop out of my house or wherever and I go ride a bike to where I'm going or walk to where I'm going and I go to lunch by walking to where I'm going or I pop over, to the next business that way, we integrate that into our design of our cities, then it becomes where I don't have to do as much. I mean, if I'm walking around New York City all day, how many calories am I burning, right? And if we can integrate that into the design, and I know Kings Mountain is a neighboring city, got a Walking City Award, recently for being a walkable community, and just building that into design so that we don't have to make an effort to think about getting our exercise. It just becomes a part of what we do by the nature of how everything around us is designed. That's what really intrigues me. And how to get people to swallow the pill. Now, I'm not going to preach it to anybody out there because, I'm an extremely flawed person. And every once in a while, and you can ask my wife almost every night, I'll eat a bowl of Lucky Charms or something. Because I like it. And as healthy as I try to be. But to get people to want to eat a healthy diet, and realize that that's what they need to do.
That's a challenge, and of course, as we mentioned before the show, it's somewhat of a cultural challenge as well because our culture here in the South,
especially here in the South, because I like
a lot of
fried
South
chicken.
people like fried chicken.
I do, especially Sunday dinner, man.
Oh, exactly. So that's a tough one. And when you look at the issues that are facing us, obesity is an issue, heart disease is an issue, diabetes is an issue, mental health, and now we're getting into substance abuse, the opioid crisis. So I mean, there's so many things that are affecting, the health and well-being, and so it's really got to be a combination of education, starting at the very earliest stages
Doesn't
of life.
everything really start with education?
It does, yeah.
Because
Education.
the more you know, the more you understand, the more you can see
The better choices you make.
how
Yeah.
ingesting everything you put in your body by eating every day, all of a sudden you end up with a heart attack. Oh my gosh, how did I get here?
Right.
Well, that's how you got there.
Exactly. And it's a long term, it doesn't change overnight. You have to
By
really
lack of
consciously work at it.
physical exercise, eating choices. Go ahead. Hey, what's up?
No, I was waiting.
You look like you were just chomping at the
I was, because I think the FDA is falling down on a lot of its responsibilities to make sure that we don't get the additives and the preservatives and the HMOs and things like this. A container of yogurt, if you don't read the label, has more calories than a bowl of Lucky
You mean
Charms.
labeling, yeah. You can do a better job labeling our food or telling people that, hey, the stuff in this, from a regulation standpoint, the
But also,
stuff in this package can cause cancer or can do, and I know people who go on diets that they have rules that they don't eat things that have, number one, have ingredients they don't understand and can't pronounce, right? And if it has more than a few ingredients, they just won't eat it, right?
That's the first thing my sister looks at is
Sure.
is the ingredient list.
And also how to read those ingredients and how to interpret that information. So, there's terminologies and things that a lot of folks aren't familiar with.
So for me though, when I get to a point where I have to reach that point and think about that, I'm out.
Right.
Like if I don't understand it or I have to interpret it, it's probably not for me.
Right.
Because it's not something that was grown off a plant and there it is, or that was produced, even meat or eggs or whatever. I mean, I understand those things.
Well,
butter, even butter. I mean, I'm not saying butter's great for you, but you can use it. It's a butter and salt. You know what I mean? Instinctively, I think that's better than using margarine. I would point to the French to illustrate that point, who are some of the healthiest people on planet Earth, and eat the richest, fattiest diets. But they eat smaller portions, and they really, really, flavorful food, right? That makes the difference. They love their food instead of just throwing down a bag of pork rinds.
I think any nutritionist would tell you to eat butter rather than to eat margarine.
You think?
Yes, I do.
I
And
don't know.
I
I
also
think you'd
that-
find people on both sides. You can find people on both sides of any issue.
well, it helps your body process food better.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you all the things I do. I learned
I guess-
my nutritional information from my husband, who was a genius on
But
stuff.
how about this? Have these conversations.
Yeah.
This is what you need to talk about.
And
I
make
don't
sure
care which side you're on. Think about it. Think about the food that you're putting in your body every day. That's a good step.
if you can think first farm to table,
Right.
that's your healthiest food. It comes and hopefully it is not used with pesticides and things like this, but it's still healthier. So the farmers market project that you're working on, that's a good place to start because the kids see the vegetables grow, they see what they look like, and it's
Well, they understand their food source, and that's it. If you go to a lot of schools and you ask a child, where does a tomato come from, or it comes from Walmart, or it comes from the
That's
shelf
true.
on the
That's
store.
what
They don't understand.
They don't understand.
They don't understand the food source. So part of this process, this education, is connecting children to their food source and to the farmers and understanding the whole growth cycle and where it comes from, but also acquainting them with new things they've never been exposed to before, like squash or zucchini or whatever, and learning new things as part of that process.
I mean, for me, I look out, just try to absorb as much information as possible. Look at the planet and who's healthy out there. You can look at populations who are healthier than others. How about that? And you can think about these things. Think about getting exercise. This is a fascinating subject. Healthcare from a preventative standpoint fascinates me. I'd love to never have to go to the hospital or the doctor, but I understand the need to keep regular checkups, right? And you need to do that. And the hospital's going to have plenty of money there because we all are still going to need regular health care, and human beings are just human beings, right? We need health care. So, but the more it can be involved in that preventative part, I think that's a noble effort, and that is phenomenal. Mr. Baker, what you're doing, I think, is a great thing, and certainly a mission to educate the people of Cleveland County. And there's probably it looks like there's foundations like this all over.
There are, and again, we've got a long way to go. We're 82nd in the state, and a lot of other communities are putting a lot more financial resources toward this goal than we are at this point in time. So, the other part of my goal is
How can people contact you?
Well, they can contact us through our website, healthcarefoundationcc.org, or they can call us at 980-487-3787 is my office number, and we'll be happy to chat with anyone.
We should do a part 2 because there's more to this.
There is.
It's a fascinating subject. Let's meet back in a month or 2.
We'd love
see if
to.
we can discuss it further.
We'd love to.
And love to see how I can get involved too. Hayden, thanks for the show today. Milton, thanks for being our engineer. Mr. Baker, thank you for being
Thank
on
you,
the
Greg.
show
My
today.
pleasure. Thank you
With
for having
Cleveland
me.
County Healthcare
Care
Foundation of Cleveland County. And this has been the Elder Law Report. Thank you for tuning in. We bring you powerful information every week to help improve your life. Not all about elder law because that would be boring, and I'm not a boring person, and neither are you. So have a great Labor Day weekend and eat some broccoli for Labor Day on your hot dog.
Exactly. Exactly.